Alex Lawson flinched as the glass of whiskey slammed down in front of her, amber liquid sloshing dangerously close to the rim. She'd barely settled into her favorite corner booth at the Monarch, the upscale bar where she often escaped after particularly grueling days at her architecture firm. "You need this more than I do," said her best friend Olivia, sliding into the seat across from her. "Your face screams I just lost $1 million project, which, considering your text earlier, I'm assuming is accurate." Alex took a long sip, welcoming the burn. "The Porter Group pulled out. Said they're going with a more established firm." She made air quotes with her fingers. "After 3 months of preliminary designs. That's the third client this quarter." Olivia's expression shifted from sympathy to determination. "This calls for desperate measures. If you suggest online dating again, I'm walking out." "Not exactly." Olivia's smile turned mischievous. "Remember Marcus Zimmerman?" Alex nearly choked on her drink. "The Marcus Zimmerman, the shipping magnate who bought that entire island off the coast last year. The one they call the Wolf of the Seas. That Marcus Zimmerman, the very same. And before you ask how I know him, remember that PR campaign I worked on for that maritime charity gala? He donated $20 million. We've kept in touch." "Fascinating trivia," Alex said dryly. "What does this have to do with me?" "He needs a date for the Maritime Conservation Foundation gala next Friday." Alex laughed, loud enough that several heads turned in their direction. "And you thought of me, the woman who spent Valentine's Day redesigning her bathroom." "It's not what you think," Olivia insisted. "Marcus is brilliant at business but terrible at relationships. He's turned into a recluse since his ex publicly humiliated him last year. All those tabloid stories about him being cold and calculating, they've gotten to him. So you want to set me up with a billionaire with trust issues? Thanks, but I'll pass." "No, listen. He needs someone who won't swoon over his money or connections. Someone real. Someone like you, who would probably argue with him about building materials for 3 hours and completely forget he could buy a small country." "Flattering," Alex muttered. "Plus," Olivia continued, ignoring her, "he might be interested in backing your sustainable urban housing concept. The one the Porter Group just abandoned." Alex's eyebrows shot up. "That's low, even for you. It's pragmatic. You need funding, he needs a date who won't sell their story to the tabloids. One night, Alex. What's the worst that could happen?" The worst, as Alex would later reflect, was that she might end up falling for him. Marcus Zimmerman glared at his phone as if it had personally offended him. The text from Olivia Chen glowed on the screen. She said yes. "Alex will meet you at the gala. Black hair, green eyes, probably the only woman there who'll talk about load-bearing walls instead of your net worth." He dropped the phone on his desk and turned to the floor-to-ceiling windows of his penthouse office. Seattle's skyline stretched before him, the Space Needle illuminated against the night sky. His shipping empire, Zimmerman Maritime, had just acquired its largest competitor, adding another billion to his already substantial fortune. And yet here he was, being set up on a blind date like a desperate college student. "I assume from your scowl that Olivia found someone," came an amused voice from the doorway. Marcus didn't turn. "Remind me why I agreed to this, James." James Bennett, his chief operations officer and oldest friend, leaned against the doorframe. "Because the board is pressuring you to improve your public image, and showing up solo to another charity event after the Vanity Fair profile called you pathologically isolated won't help." "I'm not isolated. I'm selective. You haven't dated anyone since Caroline, and that was over a year ago." Marcus stiffened at the mention of his ex. The woman who'd written a scathing tell-all about their relationship, painting him as emotionally unavailable and obsessed with work. The fact that there was some truth to it only made it worse. "This Alex person," Marcus said. "What do we know about her? She's an architect. Talented by all accounts. Started her own firm 3 years ago specializing in sustainable urban development. No social media presence to speak of, which explains why Olivia thinks she's perfect for you. An architect." Marcus finally turned. "Well, at least we'll have something to talk about when she's disappointed that I don't match whatever fantasy she has about dating a billionaire." James shook his head. "Not everyone is Caroline. No, but enough are." Marcus straightened his tie. "One night, I'll be civil, make the necessary appearances, and that's it. Would it kill you to consider the possibility you might actually enjoy yourself?" Marcus picked up a stack of reports, effectively ending the conversation. "I'll let you know on Saturday." The Maritime Conservation Foundation gala was held at the Seattle Aquarium, transformed for the evening into an underwater paradise. Blue lights created the illusion of being beneath the waves, while real sea creatures swam in massive tanks along the walls. Alex arrived 15 minutes late, cursing Seattle traffic and her own indecision about what to wear. She'd finally settled on an emerald green gown that matched her eyes, simple but elegant. Her black hair was swept up in a loose updo, a few strands framing her face. She spotted Olivia immediately, waving frantically from near the bar. "You're late," Olivia hissed when Alex reached her. "He's been checking his watch for the past 10 minutes. "I'm not late," Alex protested. "I'm fashionably." Her words died as Olivia turned her toward a man standing by one of the massive fish tanks. Marcus Zimmerman was tall, broader in the shoulders than she'd expected from the few photos she'd seen online. His dark hair was cut short, emphasizing strong features and intense blue eyes currently focused on a rare tropical fish. He wore his tuxedo with the ease of a man accustomed to formal attire, but there was tension in his jawline. "That's him," Alex whispered. "That's him," Olivia confirmed. "And he's coming this way, so remember what I told you." "Which part?" "Don't mention his ex, don't ask about his island, or don't pitch my housing project in the first 5 minutes. All of the above. Good luck." Olivia gave her a gentle push forward and disappeared into the crowd. Marcus approached with measured steps, his expression unreadable. "Alex Lawson, I presume?" "Yes, and you must be Marcus." She extended her hand, which he took briefly. His grip was firm, his hand warm. "Sorry I'm late, I underestimated rush hour. It's fine. I appreciate you agreeing to this arrangement, like a business deal." Alex suppressed a smile. "Well, when Olivia mentioned free food and good company, how could I resist?" Something flickered in his eyes, surprise, perhaps, at her casual tone. "Shall we find our table? The speeches will begin soon." As they made their way through the crowded room, Alex noticed the subtle reactions to Marcus's presence, the double takes, the whispered comments, the deliberate nods of acknowledgement from people clearly hoping to be noticed by him. Their table was front and center, populated by what appeared to be other major donors and their dates. Marcus introduced her smoothly, and Alex noted how he referred to her simply as Alex Lawson, architect, with no mention of their blind date arrangement. Once seated with champagne in hand, Alex decided to break the ice. "So, how long have you known Olivia?" "About 2 years. She coordinated a charity event I was involved with. She's quite persistent." "That's one word for it," Alex agreed. "She's been my best friend since college, and I still haven't figured out how to say no to her." "Hence your presence here tonight," Alex laughed. "Partially, but I'm actually interested in marine conservation. My firm focuses on sustainable building practices, including reducing impact on local watersheds." Marcus seemed to relax slightly. "What kind of projects do you typically work on?" "Currently, a lot of urban revitalization, taking abandoned spaces and transforming them into mixed-use developments that are environmentally conscious and community-focused. She paused. But you don't want to hear me talk shop all night. Actually, I would. It's refreshing compared to the usual gala conversation. Before Alex could respond, the lights dimmed and the Foundation's director took the stage. For the next hour, they listened to speeches about ocean conservation efforts, interspersed with videos of marine wildlife affected by pollution and climate change. Alex found herself genuinely moved, especially by a presentation on innovative cleanup technologies. She glanced at Marcus during a particularly compelling segment about new biodegradable shipping materials and found him watching her, a curious expression on his face. "What?" she whispered. "You're actually interested in this," he said quietly. "Most people are checking their phones by now, aren't you? I'm on the board. I've seen all this before." A slight smile played at his lips. "But it's nice to see someone engaged." The speeches concluded with a call for donations, and servers circulated with pledge cards. Alex watched, astonished, as Marcus filled his out with a 7-figure number before handing it to a passing attendant. "That's generous," she managed. "It's necessary," he replied simply. "And tax-deductible," he added with a hint of humor that surprised her. Dinner followed, a sustainable seafood menu paired with local wines. To Alex's surprise, conversation flowed more easily than she'd anticipated. Marcus was knowledgeable and incisive, asking thoughtful questions about her work and sharing insights about global shipping trends that affected urban development. "The Porter Group," he said suddenly, midway through their dessert. "They were supposed to be your clients for a sustainable housing development in South Lake Union, weren't they?" Alex nearly dropped her fork. "How did you know that?" "I make it a point to know about significant development projects in the city, especially those with a sustainability focus." "Well, they were," she admitted. "Until they pulled out this week. Apparently, they decided my firm was too small for the scope of the project." "Short-sighted of them," Marcus commented. "I've seen your preliminary designs. The integrated rainwater collection system alone would reduce utility costs by 20%. Alex stared at him. "You've seen my designs. I have contacts at the city planning office." He took a sip of wine. "The Porter Group made a mistake." Before Alex could process this revelation, the orchestra began playing, signaling the start of the dancing portion of the evening. "Would you like to dance?" Marcus asked, standing and offering his hand. Alex hesitated. This whole evening had been surreal, and now the billionaire shipping magnate who'd apparently researched her work wanted to dance with her. "I should warn you, I'm not great at following." His smile was unexpected and genuine. "Somehow that doesn't surprise me." On the dance floor, Alex discovered that Marcus moved with the same confidence he exhibited in conversation. His hand was warm at the small of her back as he guided her through a simple waltz. "You're better at this than you let on," he observed. "My mother insisted on lessons when I was a teenager, said it would come in handy at charity galas with billionaires." Marcus actually laughed, a rich sound that drew glances from nearby couples. "Your mother sounds prescient." "She would certainly think so." Alex looked up at him. "Can I ask you something?" "You can ask. I might not answer." "Why did you agree to this blind date? Someone like you could surely find a date without Olivia's intervention." His expression sobered. "Someone like me, you know what I mean." Marcus was quiet for a moment, guiding her through a turn before responding. "After what happened with Caroline, I became selective about who I spend time with. Olivia promised you weren't interested in my money or the publicity that comes with it." "Ah, the infamous ex." At his raised eyebrow, Alex added, "Olivia warned me not to mention her." Yet here we are. I'm not great at following instructions either. She offered a small smile. For what it's worth, I think tabloid exposés say more about the person writing them than their subject. Something in his expression shifted, a subtle thawing. That's a charitable view. Not really. I just know what it's like to have people make assumptions based on limited information. The music slowed, and Alex found herself drawn slightly closer to him. After all, I came here tonight with my own assumptions about the wolf of the seas. And how am I measuring up? You're taller than I expected. Marcus laughed again, and Alex decided she liked the sound. As they continued to dance, she became increasingly aware of his hand on her back, the faint scent of his cologne, the way his eyes crinkled slightly at the corners when he smiled. This was dangerous territory. Marcus Zimmerman was not just a blind date. He was a billionaire with trust issues and a public persona that would make any relationship complicated. And yet, as the evening progressed, Alex found herself genuinely enjoying his company. When the gala began winding down around midnight, Marcus walked her to the coat check. "I have my driver outside," he said. "Can I offer you a ride home?" "Thank you, but I have my car in the garage." She accepted her wrap from the attendant. This was unexpectedly pleasant. "Thank you for a lovely evening. The pleasure was mine." He hesitated, then added, "I have a proposition for you." Alex raised an eyebrow. "That sounds ominous." "Not that kind of proposition," he clarified, a hint of amusement in his voice. "A business one. I'm interested in discussing your South Lake Union project further." "You're interested in my project?" "I'm interested in sustainable urban development with real community impact. And I happen to have the capital. The Porter Group lacks the vision to invest." He reached into his jacket and produced a business card. "Call my office on Monday. We'll set up a proper meeting." Alex took the card, her mind racing with possibilities. "This isn't because of Olivia, is it? Or because you felt obligated after tonight, Miss Lawson? I don't make investment decisions based on blind dates or friendship obligations." His tone was firm, almost stern. "I'm interested in your work because it's innovative and aligned with my own interests in sustainability." "I appreciate that." She tucked the card into her clutch. "I'll call on Monday." They had reached the exit, and the cool night air was a shock after the warmth of the aquarium. Marcus paused, seeming to debate something internally. "I have another proposition," he said finally. "You're full of them tonight. Have dinner with me tomorrow." "Not as a business meeting, not as a favor to Olivia, just dinner." Alex studied him, surprised. "Are you asking me on a second date, Mr. Zimmerman?" "I am, and it's Marcus." The rational part of her brain was sending warning signals: complications, public scrutiny, power imbalance. But there was something about him, the intelligence behind his eyes, the careful way he listened when she spoke, the rare but genuine smile that made her curious to know more. "Yes," she heard herself say. "I'd like that, Marcus." His smile was small but real. "I'll call you tomorrow." As Alex drove home that night, she couldn't help but wonder what she was getting herself into. A second date with Marcus Zimmerman wasn't in anyone's plans, certainly not his, from what Olivia had told her. And yet, something had shifted between them during those hours at the gala. She touched the business card in her purse. Monday would bring professional possibilities she hadn't dared hope for 24 hours ago. But it was tomorrow's dinner that occupied her thoughts as she drifted to sleep. When Marcus returned to his penthouse that night, he found James waiting for him, laptop open on the kitchen counter. "How was it?" James asked without looking up. "Fine. Just fine. Because I have 3 texts from Olivia asking if you hated her friend." Marcus removed his tie. "I didn't hate her." "High praise," James commented dryly. "Should I tell Olivia the blind date experiment failed as expected, Marcus poured himself a scotch, considering. "Tell her I'm having dinner with Alex tomorrow." James's head snapped up. "You're what, having dinner with Alex?" "Tomorrow." Marcus took a slow sip of his drink. "And I want the preliminary financials for her South Lake Union project on my desk by noon." "You're investing in her project." "I'm considering it. It's solid work with potential for significant environmental impact and reasonable returns." James studied him. "And the dinner? Is that a business meeting or a date?" "A date." Marcus set down his glass. "Don't look so shocked, James. Even the wolf of the seas occasionally enjoys intelligent company." "It's not the company I'm surprised by, it's the second date." "You haven't had one of those since—" "I'm aware of my dating history, thank you." James closed his laptop. "She must have made quite an impression." Marcus thought of Alex's genuine interest in the conservation presentations, her sharp questions about his shipping routes, the way she'd spoken frankly about Caroline without the usual awkward pity. And something else, a spark of challenge in her green eyes, as if she saw him not as the billionaire businessman the world knew, but simply as a man she found intriguing. "She did," he admitted. The following evening found Alex standing in front of her closet, discarding outfit after outfit while talking to Olivia on speakerphone. "I still can't believe he asked you out again," Olivia said for the third time. "Marcus Zimmerman doesn't do second dates, not since Caroline." "Yes, you've mentioned that," Alex muttered, holding up a blue dress before tossing it aside. "Maybe he just wants to discuss the project more. At Canley's. On a Saturday night, that's not a business dinner, Alex." Alex paused, a simple black dress in hand. Marcus had texted earlier with the restaurant details. Canley's was one of Seattle's most exclusive fine dining establishments, perched on a hillside with spectacular views of Lake Union. "What am I doing, Liv? This man is completely out of my league." "Excuse me. Since when does Alex Lawson think anyone is out of her league? You graduated top of our class at Cornell, started your own successful firm before 30, and once told that famous actor who hit on you at the airport that you didn't have time for men who couldn't commit to a decent haircut." Alex smiled at the memory. "That was different. That actor wasn't Marcus Zimmerman. No, he wasn't. But that doesn't mean you're not good enough for Marcus. If anything, he's lucky you said yes." "You're obligated to say that as my friend." "I'm saying it as someone who knows you both." "Now wear the black dress. Put on those emerald earrings your mom gave you for graduation, and go enjoy dinner with a man who's clearly interested in more than your architectural designs." Alex ended the call feeling marginally more confident and finished getting ready. The black dress was simple but elegant, with a neckline that hinted rather than revealed. The emerald earrings added a pop of color that matched her eyes. At precisely 7, her doorbell rang. She'd expected a text saying his driver was outside, not a personal pickup. Taking a deep breath, she opened the door. Marcus stood on her porch, wearing a charcoal suit that looked custom-made for his broad shoulders. No tie this time, just an open collar that made him seem slightly less formal than the night before. "You look beautiful," he said simply. "Thank you." She grabbed her coat and purse. "I wasn't expecting you to pick me up personally. I prefer driving myself when I'm not at official functions." He gestured to a sleek black Aston Martin parked at the curb. "I hope you don't mind." "Are you kidding? That car is a work of art." His smile was genuine as he opened the passenger door for her. Inside, the vehicle smelled of expensive leather and subtle cologne. As Marcus slid into the driver's seat, Alex noticed how at ease he seemed behind the wheel, handling the powerful car with casual confidence as they pulled away from her modest Capitol Hill bungalow. "Your home is charming," he commented. "Craftsman style, 1920s. 1924. Good eye." I appreciate quality construction. He navigated smoothly through the evening traffic. Did you restore it yourself? As much as possible. The previous owners had covered most of the original woodwork with cheap renovations. It took me 6 months of weekends to strip it all back and restore the built-ins. A hands-on architect. That's relatively rare these days, isn't it? I believe in understanding materials and techniques firsthand. It makes me a better designer. She turned slightly in her seat to face him. What about you? Do you ever get hands-on with the shipping business, or is it all boardrooms and spreadsheets now? Something like appreciation flickered in his eyes. I started working on the docks at 16. My father believed in learning the business from the ground up. I still make a point of visiting our main terminals regularly, though I admit it's been more boardrooms lately than I'd prefer. That explains the calluses, Alex observed. At his questioning look, she added, "When we shook hands last night, you have working hands, not just executive hands." Most people don't notice details like that. I'm an architect. Details are my job. Their conversation flowed easily as Marcus drove, touching on their respective backgrounds. Alex learned that he'd grown up in Tacoma, the son of a small shipping company owner who'd expanded the business steadily before Marcus took over and transformed it into the global enterprise it was today. She shared stories of her childhood in Portland, where her mother taught English literature, and her father ran a small construction company that had sparked her interest in building. Canley's was as spectacular as its reputation suggested, with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the shimmering lights of Lake Union. The maitre d' greeted Marcus by name, leading them to a secluded table with a perfect view. "You must come here often," Alex commented after they were seated. "Occasionally for business dinners. The food is excellent and the privacy is appreciated." He studied the wine list. "Do you have a preference? I trust your judgment." After ordering a bottle of Pinot Noir and their first courses, Marcus set aside the menu and focused fully on her. "I've been thinking about your South Lake Union project." "I thought this wasn't a business dinner," Alex teased. "It isn't, but I find your work interesting and I'm curious about something." He leaned forward slightly. "The community garden spaces on the rooftop. They're not just aesthetic, are they?" Alex was surprised by the specific observation. "No, they're functional. The design incorporates a teaching component. We're partnering with a local nonprofit to offer gardening and nutrition classes for neighborhood families." "That's what I thought." It's a small detail most developers would cut to save on maintenance costs, but it transforms the building from just housing into a community asset. That's exactly the point. Sustainable isn't just about energy efficiency. It's about creating spaces that sustain the people who live there. She took a sip of the wine the sommelier had just poured. "Most investors don't grasp that." "I'm not most investors." "No," Alex agreed, holding his gaze. "You're not. Which brings me to my question. Why are you really interested in my project?" "You must have countless investment opportunities that offer better returns." Marcus considered her for a moment. "Do you know what the shipping industry's carbon footprint is?" "Substantial. About 3% of global emissions last I checked. Closer to 4 now and growing. For the past 5 years, I've been transitioning our fleet to more efficient vessels, investing in alternative fuels, optimizing routes to reduce fuel consumption. But it's not enough." His expression was intense, passionate in a way she hadn't seen before. "Your project represents the kind of innovative thinking we need, practical sustainability that improves lives while reducing environmental impact. So it's an extension of your corporate environmental initiatives, partly, but it's also personal." He paused as their appetizers arrived. "My father died of lung cancer when I was 28. He spent his life on the docks, breathing diesel fumes and industrial pollutants. I took over the company determined to change things, but change comes slowly in established industries. I'm sorry about your father. Thank you. He seemed to recalibrate, shifting to a lighter tone. But enough about business. Tell me about the woman who argues with famous actors about their haircuts. Alex nearly choked on her wine. Olivia told you about that. She mentioned it might be a good icebreaker if conversation lagged. That's mortifying, Alex groaned but couldn't help laughing. In my defense, he really did need a better stylist, and he was being incredibly pushy after I'd already said no 3 times. Good for you, Marcus said, looking genuinely amused. I appreciate people who don't hesitate to speak their mind. Even when they're speaking their mind about you, especially then. Too many people tell me what they think I want to hear. The rest of dinner passed in a pleasant blend of serious conversation and unexpected laughter. Alex discovered that, beneath Marcus's reserved exterior, was a sharp wit and a wealth of fascinating stories from his travels. She found herself sharing more than she'd intended her struggles to establish her firm in a male-dominated industry. Her passion for creating spaces that made a difference in people's lives, even the recent frustration of losing the Porter Group contract. Their loss will be my gain, Marcus commented as they shared a dessert of dark chocolate soufflé. If you're still interested in discussing investment options. I am. Though I should warn you, I'm particular about my investors. I maintain creative control over all designs. I wouldn't have it any other way. Your vision is what makes the project valuable. He set down his spoon. We can discuss details over lunch on Monday if you're free. A business lunch after a dinner date. This is becoming quite the whirlwind, Mr. Zimmerman. Marcus, he reminded her. And yes, I suppose it is. Does that concern you? Alex considered the question seriously. I'm not concerned about the pace. I am wondering about your expectations. Regarding this. She gestured between them. Whatever is developing here. I'm not interested in being someone's secret diversion or public arm candy. Marcus's expression sobered. I wouldn't insult you by suggesting either. I find you intriguing, Alex. Your intelligence, your passion for your work, your directness. I'd like to see where this might go, but I understand if my situation makes that complicated. Your situation being that you're one of the wealthiest men in the Pacific Northwest with a recent public breakup and trust issues. His lips quirked. Succinctly put. I appreciate the honesty, Alex said. And for what it's worth, I find you intriguing too, but let's be clear. My interest in you has nothing to do with your net worth, and if we pursue both a personal and professional relationship, they need to remain separate. Agreed. He reached across the table, his hand covering hers briefly. So, Monday lunch to discuss business and perhaps dinner again afterward. To continue this, Alex felt a warmth that had nothing to do with the wine. I'd like that. When Marcus drove her home later that night, there was a comfortable silence between them, the kind that forms when conversation has been satisfying enough that quiet feels natural. He walked her to her door, maintaining a respectful distance. Thank you for tonight, Alex said, keys in hand. It was unexpected in the best way. I feel the same. He hesitated, then moved closer. May I? Alex nodded and he leaned in, brushing his lips against hers in a kiss that was brief but charged with possibility. His hand rested lightly at her waist, and when he pulled back, his eyes were darker than before. Good night, Alex. Good night, Marcus. She watched him drive away, touching her lips thoughtfully before entering her house. As dates went, it had been remarkable not because of the expensive restaurant or the luxury car, but because of the connection that had formed so rapidly and unexpectedly. Monday morning found Alex in her office earlier than usual. reviewing the South Lake Union project files in preparation for her lunch with Marcus. Her small firm occupied the second floor of a renovated warehouse in the industrial district, with exposed brick walls and large windows that flooded the open workspace with natural light. Her assistant, Nina, appeared at her office door. "There's a delivery for you." Before Alex could respond, a courier entered carrying an arrangement of native Pacific Northwest plants, ferns, salal, and delicate woodland flowers in a handcrafted ceramic planter. "Where would you like this, madam?" the courier asked. "On the side table is fine, thank you." Alex waited until he left before approaching the arrangement. It was nothing like the standard roses or lilies most men would send. These were thoughtfully selected native species, sustainably grown and arranged to mimic their natural woodland setting. The card reads simply, "Looking forward to lunch." Nice plants," Nina commented from the doorway. "Secret admirer, not so secret apparently." Alex tucked the card into her pocket. "I have a lunch meeting. Hold my calls unless it's an emergency, please." "Is this the same lunch meeting that prompted you to change outfits 3 times this morning?" "I didn't." Alex stopped at Nina's knowing look. "Fine. Yes, it's a business lunch with a potential investor. A potential investor who sends you plants instead of emails." Nina grinned. "The rumor mill says you were seen at the Maritime Conservation Gala with Marcus Zimmerman." "The Marcus Zimmerman," Alex sighed. "The architectural community needs better hobbies than gossiping about who attends charity events with whom. So it's not true." "I need to prepare for this meeting, Nina." "That's not a no," Nina called as Alex firmly closed her office door. Alex spent the next few hours immersed in project details, making notes about potential modifications that might appeal to Marcus's environmental concerns. At 11:45, her phone buzzed with a text. "Car waiting downstairs, unless you prefer to drive separately." She considered for a moment, then replied, "Coming down." A sleek black SUV idled at the curb, a driver holding the door open as she approached. Inside, Marcus sat reviewing documents on a tablet but set them aside immediately when she entered. "Alex, thank you for making the time. Thank you for the plants. They're perfect. I thought you might appreciate something besides the usual florist arrangement." He seemed pleased by her reaction. "I've reserved a private dining room at Altura. I hope that's acceptable." "More than acceptable. Their chef does amazing things with local ingredients." The restaurant was only a short drive away, and they were quickly settled in a secluded room with a view of the kitchen. After ordering, Marcus produced a slim folder and handed it to her. "My initial thoughts on the project structure. I've outlined a potential investment approach that would provide the capital you need while preserving your creative control." Alex scanned the document, impressed by the thoroughness and the favorable terms. "This is generous, more than generous. It's practical. Your vision for the project is what makes it special. Diluting that would be counterproductive." He leaned back slightly. "However, I would like to expand the scope." "In what way?" "The adjacent property is also available. Combining the sites would allow for more green space and community facilities, while still maintaining the density needed for financial viability." Alex considered the suggestion. "That would require significant redesign, but the possibilities are intriguing. More space for the teaching gardens, perhaps a community workshop space." "Exactly, and potentially incorporating some of the new water reclamation technology my R&D team has been developing." Their lunch arrived, but they barely noticed the food as they exchanged ideas, sketching on napkins and the backs of menus. Alex was energized by Marcus's insights. He wasn't trying to take over her project but enhance it, offering resources and connections that complemented her vision. "This could work," she said finally, looking at the rough sketches they'd created. It's ambitious, but with the right backing. You'll have it, Marcus assured her. I've already instructed my legal team to draw up the formal investment documents. We can review them later this week. Alex sat back, suddenly aware of how caught up she'd become in the possibilities. This is moving very quickly. I don't see a reason to delay when the opportunity is clear. Marcus studied her. Does the pace concern you, professionally? No. I've been ready to move forward on this project for months. She hesitated. Personally, it's a bit dizzying. Yesterday, I was lamenting a lost client, and today, I'm planning an expanded development with one of the most successful businessmen in the country, who also happens to be someone I'm seeing. Is seeing me complicating the professional aspect for you? Not yet, but it could. She met his gaze directly. I need to know that if the personal side doesn't work out, the professional commitment remains intact. I can provide that assurance in writing if you'd like. His tone was serious. My interest in your project stands on its own merits, regardless of our personal connection. I appreciate that, she smiled slightly. Though I hope it doesn't come to that, I'm enjoying our personal connection. As am I. His expression softened. Dinner tonight. I can't tonight. I have a standing dinner with my mother every other Monday. She teaches at UW and her schedule is rigid. Another time then, actually. Alex hesitated, then took the plunge. Would you like to join us? My mother is fascinated by maritime history. She'd probably talk your ear off about 19th century shipping routes. Marcus looked surprised by the invitation. You want me to meet your mother after 2 dates? It's just dinner, not a formal introduction, and she's good company. Alex shrugged. But if it's too soon, no, he interrupted. I'd like to come. If you're sure she wouldn't mind the addition, I'll call her after lunch. Fair warning, she's perceptive and direct. Makes me look tactful by comparison. I look forward to meeting her. They finished their meal discussing more personal topics, books they'd enjoyed recently, places they'd traveled, their shared love of Seattle despite its rainy reputation. By the time they left the restaurant, Alex felt a growing certainty that whatever was developing between them was worth exploring, complications and all. Margaret Lawson's faculty housing apartment near the University of Washington campus was modestly sized, but filled with books, artifacts from her travels, and comfortable furniture that invited conversation. When Alex arrived with Marcus that evening, her mother opened the door with an appraising look that shifted quickly to warm welcome. So you're the shipping magnate who's been occupying my daughter's thoughts, Margaret said, extending her hand. I'm Margaret Lawson. Please come in. Mother, Alex protested, he hasn't been occupying my thoughts. The 3 outfit changes before dinner suggest otherwise, Margaret replied mildly, leading them into the living room. Wine, Mr. Zimmerman. Or would you prefer something stronger? Wine would be perfect, thank you. And please call me Marcus. As Margaret went to fetch drinks, Alex whispered, I apologize in advance for anything embarrassing she might say. I find her refreshing, Marcus murmured back. Now I see where you get it from. Dinner was a surprisingly relaxed affair. Margaret was indeed knowledgeable about maritime history, engaging Marcus in a lively discussion about how shipping routes had shaped the development of Pacific Northwest cities. She also proved to be an excellent cook, serving a delicious salmon dish with local vegetables. Alex tells me you're investing in her South Lake Union project, Margaret said as they enjoyed dessert. That's quite a vote of confidence in her work. Her designs speak for themselves, Marcus replied. The integration of environmental sustainability with social sustainability is exactly the direction urban development needs to take. And the fact that you find my daughter attractive has nothing to do with your interest in her project. Margaret's tone was light, but her gaze penetrating. "Mother," Alex protested, "we've discussed this. The professional and personal aspects are separate." "Of course they are, dear." Margaret turned back to Marcus. "You'll have to forgive a mother's concern. Alex has worked incredibly hard to build her reputation in a field that's still dominated by men who often don't take young women seriously." "I understand your concern," Marcus said seriously, "but I can assure you that my investment is based solely on the merit of the project." Alex's firm was on my radar before Olivia introduced us. Margaret seemed satisfied with this answer. "Good. Now, tell me about this island you purchased last year. The news reports were frustratingly vague about your plans for it." The evening continued pleasantly, and by the time they left, Alex was surprised by how comfortable the interaction had been. Marcus had handled her mother's direct questions with grace and seemed genuinely engaged in their conversations. "That went well," she commented as they drove away. "She liked you." "How can you tell? She offered you seconds on dessert and showed you her first edition of Moby Dick. That's practically adoption in Margaret Lawson terms." Marcus smiled. "I liked her too. She reminds me of my own mother, sharp, observant, unafraid to speak her mind." "Where is your mother now?" "She lives in Barcelona most of the year. After my father died, she decided life was too short not to pursue her passion for art and travel." There was fondness in his voice. "We talk weekly and I visit when I can. You're close then?" "Very. She's the one who pushed me to see beyond pure profit in business, to consider the broader impact of my decisions." He glanced at her. "She'd like you. Maybe I'll meet her someday." "I hope so." The simple statement carried weight, suggesting a future that extended beyond their current tentative connection. Alex felt a flutter of both excitement and apprehension at the possibility. When they reached her house, Marcus walked her to the door. This time there was less hesitation in his kiss, a deeper connection that left her slightly breathless. "When can I see you again?" he asked, his hand lingering on her waist. "I'm free Wednesday evening." "Wednesday, then. I'll call you tomorrow about the project details." As Alex watched him leave, she realized with sudden clarity that she was falling for Marcus Zimmerman far more quickly than she'd anticipated. The thought was both thrilling and terrifying. Over the next 2 weeks, Alex and Marcus fell into a rhythm that blended their professional and personal lives while maintaining the boundaries they'd established. During the day, they met with architects, urban planners, and Marcus's legal team to finalize the details of the expanded South Lake Union project. In the evenings, they explored their growing connection through dinners, walks along the waterfront, and long conversations that often stretched late into the night. Alex was captivated by the contrast between Marcus's public persona and the man she was coming to know. In business meetings, he was indeed the wolf of the seas, decisive, sometimes intimidating, with an unerring instinct for opportunities others missed. But alone with her, he revealed a thoughtful, occasionally vulnerable side that few others witnessed. "You're different with me," she commented one evening as they sat on her porch, sharing a bottle of wine after reviewing project documents. "More relaxed." "I trust you," he said simply. "That's rare for me." "Because of Caroline," he considered before answering. "Partly. What happened with Caroline taught me to be more cautious, but it's more than that." He looked out at the quiet street. "Most people want something from me: money, connections, status by association. You've never seemed interested in any of that." "I'm interested in you," Alex said. "The person, not the persona. I know, that's why I can be myself with you." He turned to face her. "I haven't felt this way in a very long time, Alex, maybe ever." The intensity in his eyes made her heart race. "I feel the same way, and it terrifies me a little." "Why?" Because your world is so different from mine. Because eventually, the media will notice us together and turn our relationship into entertainment. Because I'm afraid of losing myself in someone else's orbit. Marcus took her hand. I would never ask you to be anything but exactly who you are. It's who I'm falling in love with. The words hung between them, both an admission and a question. Alex found herself moving closer, her free hand reaching to touch his face. I'm falling in love with you too, she whispered, despite all my rational objections. Their kiss deepened, filled with newfound certainty. When they finally parted, Marcus kept her close, his forehead resting against hers. Stay tonight, Alex said softly. Are you sure? Very sure. That night marked a turning point in their relationship. As they explored each other with equal measures of passion and tenderness, Alex felt the last of her reservations falling away. There was a rightness to being with Marcus that defied logical explanation, a sense of having found something she hadn't realized she was searching for. Afterward, lying in the circle of his arms, she traced the line of his jaw with her fingertip. When did you know? Know what? That you wanted more than just that blind date Olivia arranged. Marcus smiled, catching her hand and kissing her palm. When you started talking about load-bearing walls during dinner and completely forgot to be impressed by me. Alex laughed. I was impressed by you, just not for the reasons you're used to. Exactly. He pulled her closer. What about you? When did you know? When you sent native plants instead of roses. It showed you were paying attention to who I really am. They fell asleep tangled together, and when Alex woke the next morning to find Marcus making coffee in her kitchen, it felt strangely natural, as if they'd been doing this for years rather than weeks. The following Tuesday, they officially announced the expanded South Lake Union Development Project at a press conference. Standing beside Marcus as he outlined their vision for a sustainable urban community, Alex felt a surge of professional pride. This was the largest project her firm had ever undertaken, a chance to demonstrate on a significant scale the principles she believed in. What she hadn't anticipated was the media's interest in their personal relationship. Despite their attempts to keep the focus on the project, questions inevitably turned to how they had met and whether their partnership extended beyond business. Mr. Zimmerman, is it true that you and Miss Lawson met on a blind date arranged by a mutual friend? Asked a reporter from the Seattle Times. Marcus handled it with diplomatic ease. Miss Lawson and I were introduced socially, yes. We discovered a shared vision for sustainable urban development which led to this professional collaboration. But you are dating, the reporter pressed. Our personal relationship is separate from our professional one, Marcus replied firmly. Today, we're here to discuss the South Lake Union project, which represents a significant investment in Seattle's future. Despite his deft deflection, by that evening their relationship was featured on local news and social media. Alex's phone buzzed constantly with messages from friends and colleagues, while several tabloid sites had already unearthed photos of them at the conservation gala. I'm sorry about this, Marcus said when he called that night. I should have prepared you better for the media attention. It's not your fault, Alex assured him, though she was unsettled by the sudden invasion of privacy. It was bound to happen eventually. Still, I hate that you're being subjected to this scrutiny because of me. Some of the commentary is unkind. Alex had seen it implications that she was using him for his money, speculations about whether she was the next Caroline, unflattering comparisons to his ex. I can handle it. Though I'll admit, I didn't expect to be called a social climbing architect in the same sentence as suspicious breast enhancement. What? Marcus sounded outraged. Where was that published? Some tabloid site. Don't worry about it, she sighed. Is it always like this for you? Unfortunately, yes, it's one of the prices of visibility. He paused. If you want to step back, I would understand. Is that what you want? God, no, but I don't want this affecting your professional reputation or making you unhappy. Marcus. Her voice softened. I'm not walking away because some gossip websites can't imagine that a billionaire and an architect might genuinely care about each other. We knew this would happen eventually. Then come to the island with me this weekend, he said suddenly. No press, no project meetings, just us. The island. Your private island. It's not as extravagant as it sounds. Just a small place off the San Juan Islands. It's peaceful there. Alex hesitated only briefly. I'd like that. The island, as it turned out, was indeed small, barely 100 acres of forested land rising from the Salish Sea. Marcus's home, there was nothing like the modern penthouse he occupied in Seattle. Instead, it was a beautifully restored farmhouse, sitting on a bluff with views of the water and neighboring islands. This is not what I expected, Alex admitted as Marcus gave her a tour. The house was comfortably furnished with a mix of antiques and modern pieces, expansive windows capturing the natural beauty outside. What were you expecting? A modernist glass palace with a helipad and infinity pool. Something like that, she laughed. This is much better. It feels like a home. That's what I wanted. A place that's just mine, away from expectations and obligations. He led her onto a wide porch that wrapped around the house. I come here when I need to remember who I am beneath the business persona. And who is that? Just a man who loves the sea, good books, and now, a talented architect with a tendency to speak her mind. Alex smiled, leaning into him as they looked out at the water. I love it here already. The weekend passed in a blissful bubble away from the outside world. They walked the island's trails, explored tide pools along the rocky shore, and spent hours talking by the fireplace when rain swept in from the Pacific. In the evenings, Marcus cooked for her, surprisingly skilled in the kitchen, and they enjoyed simple meals with spectacular views. On Sunday afternoon, as they sat on the porch watching a family of otters play near the shore, Alex felt a contentment she hadn't experienced in years. I don't want to leave, she admitted. Going back means facing all the noise again. We could stay another day, Marcus suggested. I have a client meeting tomorrow that I can't reschedule, she turned to him, but I could come back regularly. I'd like that. He took her hand, his expression serious. Alex, these past few weeks have been the happiest I've had in years, maybe ever, for me too. Then move in with me. At her startled look, he continued. Not to the penthouse, I know that's too public, too connected to my business persona, but here, make this our place away from everything else. Marcus, I don't know what to say. Say yes, we could split our time between the city and here. You could set up a satellite office for your firm, work remotely when you want to. It's not that simple. My business is in Seattle, my mother, my friends. I'm not asking you to abandon your life, just to share more of it with me. He squeezed her hand. Think about it. No pressure, no timeline. Alex nodded, overwhelmed by the offer and what it represented. I'll think about it. When they returned to Seattle the next day, reality intruded immediately. A small group of photographers waited at the marina as Marcus's boat docked, calling questions and taking photos as they disembarked. Marcus shielded her as best he could, but the intrusion left Alex shaken. Over the next few weeks, as the South Lake Union project moved into the construction phase, media interest in their relationship intensified. A profile in Seattle magazine highlighted Alex's architectural achievements, but couldn't resist speculating about her relationship with Seattle's most eligible billionaire. Paparazzi occasionally followed her from her office, hoping to catch moments between her and Marcus. Through it all, their relationship continued to deepen. Marcus became a regular presence at her small house, often bringing work to do while she drafted designs at her home office. They established a comfortable routine that balanced their demanding careers with time together, and Alex found herself increasingly relying on his steady presence in her life. Then, 6 weeks after their island weekend, everything changed. Alex was in a meeting with contractors when her assistant interrupted with an urgent message. "You need to see this," Nina said, handing her a tablet open to a gossip website. The headline made her blood run cold. "Shipping tycoon's new romance on the rocks. Ex-girlfriend claims ongoing relationship with Zimmerman." Beneath, it was a photo of Marcus with Caroline, tall, blonde, stunningly beautiful, apparently deep in conversation at a restaurant. The article claimed they had been meeting secretly for weeks, citing sources close to the couple who suggested Marcus was having second thoughts about his relationship with Alex. "Excuse me," Alex said to the contractors, her voice remarkably steady considering the churning in her stomach. "We'll need to continue this later." In the privacy of her office, she read the full article, which painted her as a temporary diversion while Marcus worked through lingering feelings for Caroline. It quoted friends saying the relationship had moved too quickly, and Marcus was feeling trapped. Alex's first instinct was to call Marcus, but pride held her back. If there was any truth to this, she didn't want to appear desperate. Instead, she texted him simply, "We need to talk, tonight." His response came immediately, "I've seen it. It's complete fabrication, coming to you now." 20 minutes later, Marcus arrived at her office, looking more agitated than she'd ever seen him. Without preamble, he said, "None of it is true. The meeting with Caroline happened once, 3 weeks ago, to discuss her foundation's participation in a shipping sustainability initiative. It was purely professional and took place in a public restaurant with my chief legal counsel present the entire time." Alex studied his face, looking for any sign of deception. "Why didn't you tell me you were meeting her?" "Because it wasn't significant. It was a 30-minute business meeting about a project that predates our relationship." He ran a hand through his hair. "I didn't mention it for the same reason I don't tell you about every business meeting I take. It wasn't relevant to us. Meeting your ex-girlfriend is different from meeting a shipping client, Marcus. Not in this context. Caroline runs a marine conservation foundation now. My company is supporting their initiative to reduce plastic in shipping packaging. The meeting was scheduled by my environmental impact team, not by me personally." His explanation was reasonable, but Alex still felt unsettled. "The article claims you've been meeting regularly. That's a lie. I've seen her exactly once since we started dating, and it was in a professional capacity with witnesses present." He moved closer, taking her hands. "Alex, you have to know I would never betray your trust like that. What we have is too important to me." She wanted to believe him. Everything in his manner suggested sincerity, but the photos and insinuations had planted seeds of doubt. "These articles say your friends think we move too fast, that you're feeling trapped." "What friends?" "The only people who know the details of our relationship are James and Olivia, neither of whom would ever speak to the press." His grip on her hands tightened. "This is exactly what happened with Caroline, Alex. Fabricated stories, anonymous sources, deliberate attempts to create drama where none exists. Why would anyone bother? Because drama sells. Because relationships involving public figures are treated as entertainment." His expression softened. "Please don't let them come between us." "That's exactly what they want." Alex took a deep breath, trying to sort through her emotions. "I believe you about the meeting, but this is a glimpse of what life with you will always be like, isn't it? Constant scrutiny, having to defend our relationship against lies and speculation. To some degree, yes. He didn't try to sugarcoat it. My visibility comes with that cost, but we can manage it better than I've done so far. I can have my PR team be more proactive, issue statements when necessary, provide more protection for your privacy. I don't want to live behind a PR team, Marcus. Neither do I. But some basic measures could make this easier. He cupped her face gently. I love you, Alex. Whatever it takes to make this work, I'm willing to do it. It was the first time he'd said the words directly, without qualifying them with falling in or beginning to. The simple declaration cut through her doubts. I love you too. She leaned into his touch. But I need to know that we're strong enough to withstand this kind of pressure. That we're both fully committed to what we're building together. I am, completely. His blue eyes held hers, unwavering. Come to the island with me this weekend. Let's take some time away from all this noise to talk about our future. Alex nodded, feeling the tension begin to ease. Okay. That night, as they lay together in her bed, Alex found herself watching Marcus as he slept, trying to reconcile the man she knew with the public figure who attracted so much attention and speculation. The contrast was jarring, but she was beginning to understand that both were real parts of him, the driven businessman and the thoughtful, sometimes vulnerable man who had opened his heart to her. The question wasn't whether she loved him, she did, with an intensity that sometimes frightened her. The question was whether she could adapt to the public scrutiny that came with loving him. Whether their relationship was strong enough to withstand external pressures that would only increase as they became more serious. By morning, she had made her decision. The island was misty when they arrived on Friday afternoon, the waters of the strait calm beneath a pearl-gray sky. As Marcus secured the boat to the dock, Alex breathed in the clean, salt-tinged air, feeling the weight of the past few days lifting. It's even more beautiful like this, she commented as they walked up the path to the house. Mysterious. Wait until you see the sunset. When the mist burns off, the sky turns incredible colors. He carried their bags onto the porch. Hungry? I thought we could grill tonight. Sounds perfect. They settled into a comfortable domestic rhythm, preparing dinner together while talking about everything except the issues that had brought them here. It wasn't avoidance, exactly more like a mutual agreement to reconnect before diving into deeper waters. After dinner, they sat by the fireplace with glasses of wine, the crackling flames casting a warm glow as darkness fell outside. Finally, Marcus broached the subject they'd been skirting. I've been thinking about what you said about whether we're strong enough to handle the pressures that come with my public profile. He set his glass down. I want to show you something. He retrieved a slim document folder from his bag and handed it to her. Inside, Alex found architectural renderings, familiar ones. They were her designs for the South Lake Union project, but with modifications. What is this? A proposal. Marcus sat beside her. The top floor was originally designed as premium apartments, but I've had the team reconfigure it as a private residence. For us. Alex studied the plans, seeing how skillfully her original concept had been adapted. You want us to live in the development. I want us to make a home there. Together. He pointed to features in the design. Your office would be here with views of the lake. There's studio space for when you want to work from home, a library for my books, space for entertaining or just being together. It's beautiful, she admitted, touched by the thought he'd put into it. But why there? You have the penthouse and you know I love my house. Because it represents both of us. Your vision, my investment. A place that's neither yours nor mine but ours from the beginning. He took her hand. And because I'm proud of what we're creating together, both personally and professionally. I don't want to hide our relationship or treat it as something separate from the rest of our lives. What about the media attention? The gossip? It will fade eventually. Once it's clear that we're not a temporary fling or a scandal waiting to happen. His expression was earnest. In the meantime, we set boundaries. My security team can provide more privacy. We choose which events to attend publicly and which moments to keep private. Alex set the plans aside, turning to face him fully. What exactly are you proposing, Marcus? A future. Together. He reached into his pocket and withdrew a small velvet box. This isn't how I planned to do this. I had a whole speech prepared, something far more eloquent. Alex's breath caught as he opened the box, revealing a ring with a single perfect emerald set in platinum. I chose an emerald because it reminded me of your eyes the first night we met, he said softly, and because diamonds seemed too conventional for someone as unique as you, Marcus. I know it's soon. I know there are complications and challenges ahead, but I also know that I love you, Alexandra Lawson. I love your brilliant mind, your passionate commitment to your work, your unflinching honesty, the way you really see me beyond the public persona. He took the ring from the box. I want to build a life with you, whatever form that takes. Alex felt tears welling in her eyes. Are you asking me to marry you? I'm asking you to be my partner in every sense. Whether that means marriage now, a year from now, or something else entirely, I want us to face the future together. He held the ring poised. What do you say? For a moment, Alex was transported back to that first night at the gala, the blind date she'd agreed to reluctantly, never imagining it would lead here. The rational part of her brain noted that it had been only 2 months, that the complications of their different worlds remained, that there would be challenges ahead. But her heart recognized the rightness of this moment, of this man. The connection they shared was deeper and more genuine than anything she'd experienced before. Yes, she said simply. Yes to all of it. Marcus slid the ring onto her finger, then pulled her into a kiss that felt like both a promise and a celebration. When they finally parted, both were smiling, a private joy that needed no witnesses. I have a condition, though, Alex added. Name it. We keep the island as our escape. No matter how public our lives become, this remains our sanctuary. Agreed. He kissed her again, briefly. I have a confession, actually. I bought this island after ending things with Caroline, when I was convinced I'd never trust anyone enough to share my life again. And now I can't imagine being here without you. His smile turned rueful. If you'd told me the night of that blind date that I'd be proposing 2 months later, I would have thought you were delusional. Alex laughed. Olivia is going to be insufferable about this. I told you so doesn't begin to cover it. She deserves to gloat a little. Without her meddling, we might never have met. He traced the line of her jaw with his fingertips. Are you happy, Alex? Happier than I thought possible. She leaned into his touch, and a little terrified in the best way. That makes 2 of us. Outside, the mist had cleared, revealing a sky painted in brilliant shades of pink and gold as the sun set over the islands. It seemed a fitting backdrop to the beginning of their new chapter together, beautiful, expansive, full of possibility. When they returned to Seattle on Sunday evening, they agreed to keep their engagement private for a short time, a final moment of peace before sharing their news with the world. But they didn't hide the ring, and by Tuesday morning, speculation was rampant. Rather than let the rumor mill control the narrative, Marcus arranged for a simple announcement in the Seattle Times. Marcus Zimmerman and Alexandra Lawson are pleased to announce their engagement. They thank friends and well-wishers for their privacy during this happy time. The reaction was predictably mixed. Business publications focused on the potential merging of their professional interests. Society columns speculated about wedding details. Gossip sites alternated between romantic projections and cynical predictions about the relationship's longevity. Through it all, Alex and Marcus remained focused on what mattered: their connection to each other, the South Lake Union project that was rapidly taking shape, and the future they were building together. 6 months later, as spring bloomed across the Pacific Northwest, they stood together on the rooftop garden of the nearly completed development. Construction workers and project managers moved about below, putting finishing touches on what had become one of Seattle's most anticipated new urban communities. "I can hardly believe it's almost done," Alex said, looking out over the expansive green space filled with native plants and community garden plots. "It's even better than I imagined." "That's because you kept pushing the vision forward," Marcus replied, his arm around her waist. "This project has your fingerprints on every aspect." "Our fingerprints," she corrected. "Your input on the environmental systems made a huge difference." He smiled, still amazed at how naturally they had come to work together despite their different professional backgrounds. The past 6 months had seen challenges: continued media interest in their relationship, the inevitable stresses of combining their lives and work, but they had faced them as a team, growing stronger through each test. "The first residents move in next month," Alex continued. "And our place will be ready by then too." "Just in time for the wedding," Marcus observed. They had set a date for early summer, planning an intimate ceremony on their island followed by a larger reception in the community space of the development, a symbolic joining of their private and public worlds. "Are you nervous?" he asked. "About any of it?" "The wedding, moving in together, the publicity that will come with the opening." Alex considered the question seriously. "Not nervous exactly, but sometimes I still have moments where it all seems surreal, that blind date turning into this." She gestured at the thriving project around them, then at the emerald ring on her finger. "Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I'd said no to Olivia that night. I'd have missed out on the best thing that ever happened to me," Marcus said simply. "And probably continued being the isolated workaholic everyone thought I was. And I'd still be struggling to fund my vision for sustainable urban development, probably losing more clients to larger firms." She turned in his arms to face him. "I'm glad I said yes. To Olivia, to you, to all of it. Even with the complications, the photographers who still follow us occasionally, the speculation about our relationship, even with that," she smiled. "Though I'm still not used to seeing my face on magazine covers when I'm buying groceries." That article was actually quite flattering. "The architect who redesigned the Wolf's Lair, wasn't it? Terribly melodramatic title." But she laughed, remembering how they'd read the profile together, amused by its romanticized version of their relationship. "At least they got the basic facts right, which is more than I can say for some of the early coverage." Marcus kissed her lightly. "The truth is better than anything they could write anyway." Billionaire's friend arranges blind date for him, never expecting him to actually ask for a second date, let alone a lifetime together. "When you put it that way, it does sound like a headline. It's our headline, our story." He drew her closer. "And we're just getting started." As the setting sun gilded the Seattle skyline around them, Alex laid her head on his shoulder, content in the knowledge that their unlikely beginning had led to something rare and precious: a partnership built on mutual respect, shared vision, and a love that had surprised them both with its depth and resilience. The blind date that neither had expected to lead anywhere had become the foundation for everything.